wrapped up in the line. There's one. It's a nice spotted sea trout. It's a very nice spotted sea trout. About 20, so these are good-sized fish. Very acrobatic. Chris, you're hammering them.
Hi folks, and welcome to Get Real Fishing. I'm your host, Captain Dave Adrian, bringing you some of the most exciting angling adventures in Western New York. In this episode, we'll be fishing for spotted sea trout in St. Petersburg, Florida, with a former Western New Yorker, Chris Kaczynski. Chris is an avid fisherman and invited me to join him on his 20-foot Mako in search of spotted sea trout near the Tampa Bay, St. Pete area. We focused our efforts on this particularly windy day in shallow bays and near mangroves in an area east of the famous Skyway Bridge. We targeted an area south of Piney Point called Bishop's Harbor to fish the grass flats for spotted sea trout.
I know someone with lupus.
My girlfriend.
My mommy.
We work together.
My sister.
My neighbor.
I know someone with lupus. She's so tired.
Fatigue, achy joints, and fever.
Severe chest pains, heart
Her
problems.
kidneys gave up.
He had a seizure.
Pain never stops.
Now she's on dialysis.
Someone you know.
Someone you know.
Someone you know.
Someone you know has lupus.
But there is hope. For information, contact the Lupus Foundation of America.
Not long ago, Albert couldn't take long walks. He was diagnosed with a bad heart. After considering all the treatment options, his heart specialist recommended a pacemaker instead of putting him to sleep. Get the facts about animal research.
My dad is a hero. He goes into places normal people want to get away from. He rescues families, makes everyone safe. But the best thing he can do is come home.
The U.S. Fire Administration reminds you to protect the heroes who protect our lives. Have a smoke alarm on every floor. Test it monthly. Replace the battery yearly. Do your part to get out before they have to come in.
There is strength in our numbers. Our call is to action, to practice what we preach. Be there to care. Our passion is compassion. We're only human, but together we're humane. Our letters stand for taking a stand, for taking the lead, for filling the need. The American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Be part of our heart.
As I mentioned, my feature angler on this episode is Chris Kaczynski. After moving to the Tampa St. Pete area in the early 90s, Chris quickly adapted to the saltwater way of life, targeting everything from snook and sea trout to king mackerel and tarpon. Chris and I join forces annually on a spring trip to the Keys, some of which will be aired on future episodes. Although it's difficult to hear due to the 25 to 30 mile an hour winds, Chris explains his approach to flats fishing for spotted sea trout.
What we're going to do is we're going to try and find out if we have any of your typical common inshore species on this flat here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rig up with a topwater bait that has a rattle in it that typically is very effective on the flats in shallow water, which down here a flat refers to shallow waters anywhere from 6 inches to 3 feet see a pothole and try and pull some fish out of there. If the fish are there, they'll definitely target this. They'll definitely hit the topwater lure. And so that's what we're going to try and do. I'm going to start throwing around in these grass flats and see if we can't stir up some trout. See, it's a big school of mullet, like 30, 40 of them in there. Well, we can ask that though. Still going. That's a big school. Smaller mullet, but that's a good sized school. Here goes the snook.
We're using a 9-foot graphite rod with a light spinning reel and high-vis mono line. Chris started the day with the topwater lure designed to cover a lot of water in a short period of time to locate fish.
What is it?
This is a rear lure, MR28, ER stands for rattle. Got the dark back
And within a short period of time, Chris had our first spotted sea trout of the day.
Fish on.
really soft mouth.
Now, what's the legal size on that?
The legal size is 15 inches. What's interesting about Florida, you have to be careful about where you are and which county and which part of which county. Because if you're north of Pinellas County, it's actually got wrapped up in the water. But if you're north of Pinellas County, it has to be 15 inches to keep. If you're south of the Pinellas-Pasco County line, it has to be 17 inches.
One in the box.
One in the box.
Here some other anglers are chumming while anchored in an attempt to draw fish closer to the boat. Chris targets boundary waters between grass flats and bare sand where trout hold and wait for prey.
Following it right underneath it. 3 of them. You got it. Oh, he dropped it. That's a bigger fish. That's another trout. There's one. That's a nice spotted sea trout. That's a very nice spotted sea trout. Oh, oh, oh. He's going under the boat. Drifting for that flat.
Are you saying we're in a conflict of interest there? Lunker.
Dear Abby, I'm scared. I think my mom is showing signs of Alzheimer's disease. What should I do? Signed, Frightened. Dear Frightened, when my mom first began showing signs of memory loss, I was scared too. So I called the Alzheimer's Association for help. I'm Dear Abby. If you or someone you love is experiencing memory loss, take my advice, contact the Alzheimer's Association. They help families like ours.
If you have diabetes, you know you have an increased risk of kidney disease, blindness, and amputations. But did you know that 2 out of 3 people with diabetes die from heart disease or stroke? Fortunately, you can reduce your risk of heart disease and stroke by lowering your blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol. If you have diabetes, ask your doctor to tell you more about the link between diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. Call us.
There is strength in our numbers. Our call is to action, to practice what we preach. Be there to care. Our passion is compassion. We're only human, but together we're humane. Our letters stand for taking a stand, for taking the lead, for filling the need. The American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Be part of our heart.
My dad is a hero. He goes into places normal people want to get away from. He rescues families, makes everyone safe. But the best thing he can do is come home.
The U.S. Fire Administration reminds you to protect the heroes who protect our lives. Have a smoke alarm on every floor. Test it monthly. Replace the battery yearly. Do your part to get out before they have to come in.
Yeah, this is a nice fish. This one here measures about 20, so he's a good sized fish. We're gonna put him in the box. They're good table fare. Plus my neighbor specifically requested if I get one, we keep one for dinner. So he's gonna go in the box and become dinner.
Well, now we can truly say one in the box.
As we drift across the flat, typically we get trout out in the middle of the flat. It's a little bit windy and it's a little bit shallow for a boat of this size for us to get up in the mangroves, but that's where the snook and the redfish will hide. Still referred to as flat-stripe species. The trout will be out in the middle of the flat, sitting in the potholes where the snook and the redfish will be up under the mangroves, hanging over, where the mangroves hang over the edge, creating a shadow line. That's where we would typically look for the redfish and the trout, but a boat of this size with water this shallow, it's tough to get up in there. Tell on this one of the nicknames for the locals refer to these fish as yellowmouths.
He inhaled that sucker. How have numbers of these fish changed over the last 9 years?
He took that lure and it was kind of a rough release. I'm going to go ahead and put the box and plant it on it. Go ahead and throw it in the box. We had a lot of netters that were netting mullet. And about 4 years ago, they placed a ban on netting within 9 miles. The shoreline of all of Florida. Since that time, the population of trout have come back strong. And on a typical day, if no fish are biting, you know you can go out to the flat and catch some trout. So it's been great for the recreational fishermen. Well, as we're drifting the flat, we just came across a school of bait. We don't need the bait right now, but we may use it in a little bit. As we drift up on this party here, I want to try to get a cast or two in. It took me about 6 months to throw the net, but
Here Chris does his best Spider-Man imitation. The cast net works by forming a dome over the top of the fish, then cinching the weighted bottom to prevent escape. The entire net is then set in the live well, and the fish are freed and aerated until ready for use. How's our what?
I'll have to take a look. There's a generic term they use down here, greenback. That's just a term that most of the fishermen use for whitebait. There are about 3 species that these are little menhaden. You can see the little dot behind the gill. Softer bait. I actually prefer the thread fins. Threadfin herring. Hopefully we'll get a couple of those in a little bit. But this bait is hardy. You can expect it to last about 15 minutes on the end of the hook before he starts to become sluggish.
I know someone with lupus.
My girlfriend.
My mommy.
We work together.
My sister.
My neighbor.
I know someone with lupus. She's so tired.
Fatigue, achy joints, and fever.
Severe chest pains, heart
Her
problems.
kidneys gave up.
He had a seizure.
Pain never stops.
Now she's on dialysis.
Someone you know.
Someone you know.
Someone you know.
Someone you know has lupus.
But there is hope. For information, contact the Lupus Foundation of America.
Not long ago, Albert couldn't take long walks. He was diagnosed with a bad heart. After considering all the treatment options, his heart specialist recommended a pacemaker instead of putting him to sleep. Get the facts about animal research.
My dad is a hero. He goes into places normal people want to get away from. He rescues families, makes everyone safe. But the best thing he can do is come home.
The U.S. Fire Administration reminds you to protect the heroes who protect our lives. Have a smoke alarm on every floor. Test it monthly. Replace the battery yearly. Do your part to get out before they have to come in.
There is strength in our numbers. Our call is to action, to practice what we preach. Be there to care. Our passion is compassion. We're only human, but together we're humane. Our letters stand for taking a stand, for taking the lead, for filling the need. The American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Be part of our heart.
There he is again. It's chasing whatever it is. Gotta be ladyfish. Gotta be a ladyfish when they hit like that.
Fish on. So what is this?
Ooh, this is a ladyfish. A lot of times we'll target these smaller when they're schooling in smaller sizes so that we can use it for bait for tarpon. And the big snook like to take these as well. They're fun to catch because they are acrobatic, they like to jump. They are a fun fish to catch, especially if you have kids or something like that. It's just a little guy, that's actually a perfect bait size. They're a common species in Tampa Bay. nice about this whole bank is you get up on that front section, you're up in the air, you can see down into the water better. Fishing down here, I just don't have the chasing it. There's one chasing it. It's right underneath it, looking at it. We're drifting on top of him. We're going to scare him any minute. He's still there. Too close to the boat. Another nice thing about using this topwater is you can see it as a fisherman. You can see it from quite a ways, so I can keep an eye on my bait. So when I go to set the hook on a hit, it's not just from the feel of the pull of the fish. It's also from the sight, seeing the fish hit it in the surface.
Fish on. What do you got there?
Not sure yet. Usually trout come right to the surface. It's going to be a weed.
Play him.
Oh no, turn the camera off. This is not one of our favorite species. This would be a lizardfish.
Ah.
Very aggressive, large teeth. We'll just throw him back.
So what are we looking at here?
We're looking at an oyster bar that throughout the bay you'll have these areas where the oysters have formed colonies, and if we were to go poking around in there, you'll find a lot of small crustaceans, little crabs, and the redfish love the types of food they can collect when they're poking around in there.
With most types of fishing, patience usually pays off, but sometimes it's actually best to increase your retrieval speed if you see a fish chasing your lure. Here Chris gives us the play-by-play as the trout actually chases the lure right up to the boat.
That's part of the fun of topwater fishing. Still a little green at the boat. Oops. Spit the hook. A good release. A good clean release. I got my $5 money back.
Attaboy. We decided to move to a spot amongst the mangroves where it was possible for Chris to cast right into the roots, hoping to attract fish waiting in ambush.
You know, maybe you would have twice the coverage rate or twice the foot.
So what's the difference in the technique in the mangroves here?
Well, the technique differs here in that you want to try and cast your bait up into those mangroves as close as you can without getting into them. As you look ahead, you can see some of those mangrove branches hang out over the water, creating shade, which is where your snook and your redfish will lie in wait, looking to ambush prey. Typically, the snook and the redfish won't venture further than 5 to 6 feet out unless they're actually chasing a bait. Where they call them yellowmouth, and you can see those teeth. You gotta check your leader material after every time you're using that. Spotted sea trout.
Better than a sharp stick in the eye.
Better than a sharp stick in the eye.
As the day wore on and the bite slowed, Chris decided to change strategies a little bit, and he put on a plastic paddle tail jig. So what are you putting on now?
I'm putting on a small jig, just a typical jig with what we call a paddle tail. tail on it that just comes through the water column. It goes side to side, looks like a fish tail swimming in the water. I went with the copper color because the water is a little bit dirty out here. So I'm trying to go with a bait that will be spotted or able to be picked up in this dirty water. You'll see that there are specks on the top, metal flakes in the tail, and that again, when it comes through the water column, you'll see it reflect in the sunlight. So I should see this coming.
What do you got?
Trout.
The change in strategy worked, and within a few minutes we were back into fish again.
Chris, you're hammering them. How many is that today?
Even though this area is immediately adjacent to one of the largest population centers in Florida, we were able to enjoy a full day of fun fishing on the flats and around the mangrove islands. And despite the 35-mile-an-hour winds, Chris was able to effortlessly catch and release a decent number of spotted sea trout. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my old fishing buddy Chris Kaczynski for making this show possible. And even as we returned to port, we were making plans to spend the remainder of May in Big Pine Key fishing for tarpon and dolphin. So watch for those shows on upcoming episodes of Get Real Fishing. Hey, thanks for watching Get Real Fishing, folks. And feel free to contact us at aquachart@aol.com. We'll see you next time on Get Real Fishing.